It began on a cold evening in late October. The sun had slipped below the horizon, leaving the sky bruised with shades of purple and gray. I was driving down an old, winding road, the kind of road that seemed to stretch forever, flanked by trees whose branches arched over the asphalt like crooked fingers. Each gust of wind rattled the car and made the branches scratch the windshield. I hadn't planned on being here, not really, but my friend Paul had insisted I come. He had inherited the house at Hollow Creek from an uncle I'd never met, an uncle who had vanished without a trace some years ago. The road narrowed, twisting like a snake through the dense forest. Potholes jostled the car and made the steering wheel tremble under my hands. Through the fog, I saw it. The house, large, looming, and half swallowed by ivy. Its paint was peeling like scabs, the windows blank and dark, like eyes that had stared too long at the world. A shiver ran down my spine. Paul was already there, standing on the porch, his hands buried in the pockets of his worn coat. "Finally," he said, his voice cutting through the wind. "I didn't think you'd actually come." "I wouldn't miss it," I said, forcing a smile. But inside, a hollow dread gnawed at. The house seemed alive in a way I couldn't explain, waiting. Inside, the air smelled of dust, damp wood, and something metallic and faintly sweet. The floors groaned beneath our weight, each step echoing through the vast emptiness. Every room we passed seemed to whisper in a language I could almost, but not quite, understand. Paul told me that his uncle had lived here alone and then disappeared. No one knew what happened. I laughed, but it felt hollow. The silence of the house pressed against my ears like water. That night, the wind whipped against the windows, rattling the panes. Stairs, the wooden floorboards creaked under invisible footsteps. I told myself it was just the house settling, but sleep did not come. Around 2 a.m. I heard it, soft scratching at the door. My heart began to pound. I rose slowly, my hand shaking as I opened it. The hallway was empty. I stepped into the corridor, flashlight cutting a thin path through the darkness. From the corner of my eye, I saw something move, a shadow that did not belong to any object in the room. It lingered, stretching and twisting as if it were alive, and I knew immediately it wasn't a rat. I froze. It seemed to watch me. The next morning, we explored the attic. Under a loose floorboard, we found a small box of letters, yellowed, brittle, the words written in a frantic, spidery hand. I read the first, aloud. "They are here, watching. I cannot leave. Do not trust the walls." My stomach churned. Paul paled as I continued. His uncle had gone mad in this house, and now we were walking the same path. That night I dreamed of the attic again. The letters were in my hands, the walls bent and pulsed, shadows pressing against the ceiling and whispering my name. I woke, screaming. Paul shook me awake, claiming he had seen something too. The next day we found a mirror in the hallway. Old, gilded, scratched. When I looked into it, my reflection twisted slowly. My eyes darkened, my mouth opened in a silent scream. I blinked, and it was normal again. We discovered the basement. A trap door hidden under an old rug led to steep, mildew-thick stairs. At the bottom, the walls were carved with symbols that made my head spin. Candles, half-melted, lay scattered around a small altar. On it was something twisted, humanoid, its eyes black beads that glinted in the candlelight. Footsteps echoed behind us, slow and deliberate. A whisper reached our ears, "Leave now." By the final night, the house was alive. Every floorboard, every door, every window pulsed with presence. Shadows crowded every corner, curling like smoke. I ran through hallways searching for Paul, but he was gone. Only the letters remained. I read one aloud. "If you read this, do not stay. They will take you. They never let go." The walls shifted, groaned, and the house seemed to inhale, pulling me in. From the shadows emerged faces, twisted and burning, mouths open in silent screams. They moved like smoke pressing against me. I ran to the attic. The window was locked. Outside, fog pressed against the glass. A black, twisted hand tapped from the outside. The whisper returned, louder than ever. "Stay. Forever." I ran through rooms that had changed, hallways that no longer existed. The house seemed endless. I could hear whispers behind every wall, every door, every crack. I could feel them pressing closer. I hid in a corner, clutching the letters, shaking. My heart felt like it would burst. The shadows gathered, circling me, laughing, whispering, crying, moaning. Time did not exist. Days passed, or maybe hours. The house stretched, twisted, grew. Paul's voice echoed somewhere, calling my name. I followed it and found myself in the basement again, in front of the altar. The twisted figure stared at me. Its bead-like eyes glinted. It moved. I ran. The attic was the only place I thought I could hide. I pushed against the window, but it wouldn't budge. The fog outside pressed closer. The whispers became screams. My own voice joined them. The house was alive. It was patient. It waited. Eventually, I realized I could not escape. The walls closed in. The shadows whispered promises, lies, threats. I screamed, but the sound was absorbed by the house. Paul's face appeared in every shadow, his eyes hollow. I understood. We were all trapped. The house consumed everyone who entered. I don't know how long I have been here. Time means nothing. Sometimes I think I can hear voices outside, travelers along Hollow Creek, whispering about figures in the windows, shadows moving where there should be none. And I whisper back, though no one hears me, warning them not to enter, warning them to leave. But the house is patient. It always waits, and it always will. Part 2. The Things That Remember. I learned the house does not sleep. Even when the shadows lie still and the whispers fall silent, something remains awake, listening, remembering. The walls remember footsteps, the floors remember blood, the mirrors remember faces long after they've been worn away. At some point, after fear had burned itself hollow inside me, I began to notice patterns. The whispers were not random. They repeated. Certain phrases came back again and again, spoken in different voices, at different times, from different walls. "You shouldn't be here. Leave now. Stay forever." At first I thought they were meant for me, but then I realized something far worse. They were echoes. The house was replaying the last thoughts of the people it had taken. I found proof in the letters. More appeared over time, slipping into corners where I knew they hadn't been before, tucked beneath doors, wedged between floorboards. The handwriting changed from letter to letter, some neat, some jagged, some barely legible. But the fear was always the same. It knows my name. I hear my wife cry blood. The fog rolled heavier than ever that evening. I could hear it pressing against the trees like wet cloth, muffling the forest. From somewhere deep in Hollow Creek, a car engine hummed faintly, hesitant, unsure. I knew before they saw it. The house smelled of them, fresh fear, warm and pulsing, like it had been waiting for days. I stayed in the attic, letters clutched, shadows creeping around me, whispering. They always whisper. The visitor arrived just as the sun bled its last into the sky. I watched from the cracked attic window. A young woman, arms full of bags, laughter trailing behind her like an echo of sunlight. She smiled at nothing, stepping onto the winding road, and the house seemed to inhale a deep, slow sigh that rattled the panes. It recognized her. I tried to scream, tried to warn her, but the sound was caught before it left my throat. The shadows twined around me, shaking their heads. They were patient, always patient. The woman reached the porch. She looked up, and for a moment I saw the same fascination I had once felt, that horrible mix of curiosity and disbelief. She knocked. The door creaked open before anyone answered. Of course, it opened itself. Inside, the air shifted, welcoming her. I could see it through the thin gaps in the boards, through the cracks in the walls, the house moving subtly, folding corridors, stretching ceilings. It guided her, coaxed her, whispered into her mind. "Come in," it said, though the voice was not a voice, and yet she heard it as clearly as if spoken aloud. She stepped inside. Her laughter vanished. I followed her through the mirror. Part 4. Inside and outside. I can hear her. Not her voice, not yet, but the presence of her. The house hums around her, folds itself into her vision, presses into her thoughts. Through cracks in reality I can barely reach. I see shadows move faster than they should, twisting corners, shaping corridors, folding walls over her head. She doesn't know I'm here. She can't. The house has hidden me in plain sight, just as it hid Paul, just as it hid the uncle. I exist in the spaces between floors, in the spaces between time, whispering warnings that never reach ears. Her fear tastes fresh, warm. It tingles through the walls and brushes against my memory, and I can feel the house smiling. Or maybe that's me imagining. Inside, she walks through hallways that are no longer hallways. A door opens to a room she has never seen, but the furniture is familiar. Mirrors catch her reflection, but her face twists in ways she cannot control. She touches a mirror and sees me, only for a blink, and only from behind the glass. Then I'm gone. The whispers begin for her. They are not gentle, not subtle. The house speaks in all voices at once. You shouldn't be here. You belong. Leave now or stay forever. She doesn't understand. She thinks it's her imagination. The house feeds on that doubt. Every question she asks is answered by shadows stretching around her, windows that vanish, stairs that fold back into themselves. The candlelight flickers, revealing shapes, faces pressed into the walls, mouths open in silent screams, eyes following her every move. I want to scream. I try. But my voice is trapped in the walls, absorbed by the wood, the plaster, the mirrors. She finds the basement. Of course she finds the basement. It calls to everyone. She sees the altar, sees the twisted figure with its bead-like eyes. It doesn't move, at first, but it knows she is there. The shadows coil around her legs, tugging gently, patient. The figure tilts its head, and then she sees me, or what she thinks is me, another reflection, caught in a mirror, hovering behind the altar. She blinks, and I'm gone. I am nothing but a warning now, and warnings do not save anyone. The house shifts again. The attic ceiling curls downward. The floor stretches beneath her feet. Whispers become voices, then songs, then cries of every person who has ever entered, layered one on top of the other. She touches a wall, and I feel her memory flow through me. The house drinks it like wine. She screams. I feel it. Paul screams. The uncle screams. And somewhere deep in the foundations I scream too. Time splits here. Inside the house, hours stretch into centuries. Outside, the fog rolls endlessly. The car engine from the road fades, replaced by silence, but I know another will come. Someone always comes. She is mine to watch now, and I am hers to see in fleeting glimpses. The house waits. It always waits. And one day it will be hungry again.